All right, this is the weather model discussion here for Tuesday, October the 18th. How's it going, everyone? William Cole here in the Storm Studio. Hopefully your Tuesday is going well. If you like cooler fall weather, you're definitely enjoying the day today. I can tell you that for sure. And we're going to take it from cooler this afternoon to colder as we get into tonight. In fact, we're going to talk about that coming up. But again, this is our weather model discussion. Behind the scenes look at how we're putting together the forecast of the day, right? So this is not going to be made for TV. In fact, we're going to be looking over some of the raw data coming up momentarily and kind of the nitty gritty, if you will, of the forecasts. We typically put this on our social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Again, if you're watching it there, give us a like if you don't mind, and also let us know where you're watching us from as well, where you're checking in from. We'd really appreciate that, especially on social media, always wondering where those viewers come from. Otherwise, we've got a lot to talk about today, and in fact, the first thing to really get to is we have our first freeze warning of the season. And again, you can see it does include all of our Red River counties, all of our eastern counties. And this afternoon, the Weather Service went ahead and now threw in Kaufman, Rockwall, and also Collin County into that freeze warning as well. I can tell you, Denton County, there may even be a few locations out to the west that are going to be flirting with that freezing number, right? So it's going to be a cold night. And, again, this freeze warning that we're seeing here, it's a little subjective, right? So as we take a look at this, these are my forecasted lows around the area. And again, you can even see out around the Breckenridge and Graham area, even though you're not officially in the freeze warning, you're going to be getting close to that freezing mark, if you will. Mineral Wells, Granbury, even down through Stephenville. Again, the way it looks from here. Again, you can see off to the east, a little more likely with Paris and Sulphur Springs down to 30, Greenville down to 30 by sunrise tomorrow morning as well. And again, there you can also see Terrell 32, and again, even down around Waxahachie, checking in around 32 for tomorrow morning as well. So the bottom line is this will not be a hard freeze. This is not going to be a vegetation killing freeze, but if you do have the tender vegetation outdoors, it's better to go ahead and bring it in if possible, or go ahead and cover it. Again, if you have your water hoses still hooked up, go ahead and unhook those. And if for any reason you have the sprinkler system kicking on tomorrow morning, be sure to turn that off as well. Again, this is not a major freeze. It would only be a light freeze, meaning it would last for maybe an hour or two, briefly touching that freezing mark. But it's the first time we've seen it this season here in North Texas. And by the way, this will be very close. Let me see if I can find this graphic really quick here. This will be very close to a record low in the Metroplex, right? So my forecast tonight is 39. And by the way, the record low for tomorrow morning is 38 from back in 1989. So anytime you're flirting or you're near record levels, it's a big deal, right? So, for this time of year, this is really cold because we're almost at a record, right? So it will be a big deal. Now, the good news is, and I'll show you this graphic, even though I said this is not the made for TV graphics, we'll just use a few of these because this does tell the story. Even though we're going to be cold tonight, you can see we quickly stair step out of this over the next several days. In fact, by the weekend, those are your morning lows over the weekend. We're back to 60 and 67 respectively there, right? So again, it's that time of year in the fall season, you can get these kind of quick bursts of chillier air. That's all this is. It's in and out fairly quickly, just the way we like it, right? In and out. And again, like I mentioned, a nice, we'll call it moderating trend into the weekend. Okay, from there, let's get down to the nitty gritty, and we'll go ahead and take a look at some of the raw data. And just bear with me here while I'm punching this up. So what we'll start with, this is the visible satellite review, and this is just taken from the Storm Prediction Center meso-analysis page, right? We like the meso-analysis page here. We use it for all kinds of different products, but again, the visible satellite on this is also pretty good as well. So North Texas, again, being right about here, the areas you're seeing the black and the gray through most of the area here, that is clear, that is sunny, right? You can see a little bit of cloud cover, though, down along the Rio Grande Valley, and the main reason for that, we have a little upper level storm system that's cutting through there. If you remember last week, the storm system that was out on the west coast that we were talking about almost ad nauseum, right? I mean, we talked about it each and every day. It was just sitting out there spinning. We knew at least at some point it was going to get kind of picked back up into the flow and it was going to come on out to the east. And the big question mark would be, was it going to impact our weather here in North Texas? Well, the answer is no, right? Because it kind of weakened as it came out to the east, and it's also been pushed well down to the south. Again, you can see the radar view here, again, down around the Brownsville area, maybe down around Corpus, some of those locations, even back down through the Padre area, you can see some scattered showers, right? Most of this actually now ending, most of that actually pushing offshore now. That'll be essentially all she wrote, right? So a few showers way down to the south, total swing and miss for us here in North Texas. But again, anytime you have a storm system out to the west, that is eventually going to come through to the east. What do you have to do? You got to watch it, right, until the data gets a consensus on exactly what it's going to do. The other big story, it is the temperatures around the nation. And again, you can see the area blue right there. It's just a big dip in the jet stream, right? It's a big storm trough. And this time of year, in those storm troughs, again, in the fall and in the winter and early spring, that's when you start to really get that cold air pooling down into those. And today has simply put that case. And again, we've got a lot of locations there. I mean, currently up in Minnesota, we've got 30s there. Over across parts of Minnesota, we've got 40, or parts of Michigan rather, we've got 40s. Even in parts of Illinois, we've got 40s. So again, it's downright cold across parts of the Midwest. And again, also the Great Lakes region. The cold front that came through here in North Texas, the air mass you're seeing up there, that was the source region of the front. Now here we just kind of got the glancing blow, right? I mean, we're in the 60s today. We'll definitely be cold tonight. But again, we're nowhere near what they're dealing with up there, right? But later in the season, we all know these blasts will get released a little bit further to the south or a little bit further to the west. And again, we'll eventually get our taste here in North Texas. At least the trend over the last couple of years, it's truly been February, right? February's kind of been our cold month where we truly get those blasts of colder air. Of course, that doesn't really mean anything for this upcoming year whatsoever, but that has been the trend at least the last couple of years. Now, as we look at this kind of in a different perspective here, right? This is the upper air analysis, and this is always so important, right? This is almost the meat and potatoes of the forecast. Before we put anything together, before we look at the model data, which we're about to do, this is what we have to do, right? We've got to get the true analysis of what's going on, right? So today it's pretty simple. You can see we've got the big dip, we've got the big storm trough, all the active weather. Again, that's going to be off to our northeast, but we've got this major ridge out to the west. Take a look at that, and that's where we have warm weather. In fact, temperatures well above normal on the west coast, and also dry weather. And here in North Texas, we're essentially in between the two, so we're kind of in a northwesterly or even more of a northerly flow pattern. Northerly a lot of times is a little bit quieter. Sometimes a northwesterly flow can be a little bit more active. We will actually, believe it or not, have another storm system swinging through a little bit later this week. It appears as though it comes through dry, right? So not a major weather player force whatsoever. But as we get into next week, the way it looks right now, we'll go over this data coming up momentarily. I think our pattern, at least for a few days, will get more active, and there may be a fairly decent opportunity to get some rain back into the area. Of course, over the weekend, we had some rain up along the Red River Valley. Truly, those are the folks who saw the rain up there. Here in the Metroplex, we didn't get much, right? And so we know it's been a very dry year, right? So even though technically we're running a little over 4 inch of a deficit, if you remember, most of that fell really within about a four day to almost a week window when we had the historic rain at the end of the summer, right? So outside of that, it's been very dry. So we got almost an entire year's worth of rain up to this point, where we should be up to this point during that week, and outside of that, it's been totally dry. So it's a little bit misleading. So things are really dry, and as we all know, especially if you're a property owner here in North Texas, you're going to start having some foundation issues. We were very dry last year. We've been very dry so far this year. Again, outside of just that 1 week, right? All things combined, we've had more dry than wet. And again, with the foundation and the soil we have here in North Texas, it's going to be ripe for foundation issues developing if they're not already. So that right there in itself is not good, besides the drought and again, everything else that goes along with it. Okay, so from there, I also want to take a quick peek here just at the Convective Outlook, right? Let's take a look and see what the Storm Prediction Center is anticipating over the next couple of days, only for the fact in fall, remember, this is our secondary severe weather season here in North Texas, but also around the nation as well. This is when we get the battle of the air masses, and obviously there's more components to that, but again, you get the battle of the seasons going, and again, a lot of times you can get severe weather. We haven't seen a lot of it this fall here in North Texas. We've essentially seen none of it, and this will be year number 3. I mean, really, truly, since we've been down here, we've had very minimal fall severe weather. Not that that's a bad thing, but sometimes you kind of look at the anomalies, right? What's kind of sticking out that's weird or different about the pattern? It's something you begin to watch, right? And again, this appears to be year number 3 that, again, the severe weather, fall severe weather season, it's pretty minimal, right? And even our spring severe weather season, when you think about it, was pretty minimal as well. So looking at the convective outlook for today, no severe weather anticipated, a few areas of thunder possible, mainly down in the Florida Peninsula, then also up in Maine, believe it or not, Maine, another opportunity of some thunderstorm activity and heavy rain there. And then let's take a look at tomorrow. And look at this, no thunderstorm, not even, we're not talking about just severe, but no thunder, no thunderstorm activity, no convective weather forecasted at all for tomorrow. That's interesting. And then, well, let's go take a look at day 3. Day 3, basically on the Atlantic coast of the Florida Peninsula. It's almost hard to see. You can almost see just a little green sliver down there, right? So, not a lot, right? And a lot of that has to do with that cooler air mass that's really inundated a good portion, right, of the Midwest and the eastern part of the United States. Typically, you're not really looking out west for convective weather, right? We're normally looking at the heartland, we're looking at the East Coast, and also parts of the deep south. So, cooler weather there. And simply put, that's one of the reasons why right now we're just not really anticipating a lot of convective weather. But again, one of the things to keep our eye on. Okay, so from there, let me do this. I've made a new little zoom here so you guys can have a better inspection of the model data. Okay, so now we're really getting into it, okay? And so what we're looking at here, similar to our analysis earlier, our upper air analysis, this is the 500 millibar chart, but as opposed to looking at what's happening right now, where I'm gonna roll you over the next 10 days so we can analyze the overall pattern that we're gonna be in, right? And so we're using the European model here. This is just my preferred model, right? When we're talking about the medium range time frame, right? The Euro just outperforms the GFS. I mean, we look at the GFS here, but again, I want to take it to Vegas, right? So if we were betting on it, we would short the GFS every time, right? So we like the Euro. So if you're a model person, right, and a lot of people, out there for whatever reason, if you use Pivotal, there's a lot of free weather sites out there, and a lot of people just really are not plugged into the Euro, the European model, ECMWF. If you're not, you need to be plugged into it, right? Because that's truly where the accurate data is compared to the GFS, okay? Okay, so let's go and roll this over the next 10 days. Number one, you can see that huge storm trough right off to the northeast. It's pulling off. There's this little quick moving system. Let me try and highlight this really quickly. You can see this little system right here, right? So this comes through still. And let me try and do the telestrator. This comes through, this is still Thursday morning. It swings through, right? This time of year, we're always looking for areas of spin that come through, right? Because if there's moisture, if there's certain other dynamics, maybe it could give you an opportunity of rain or storms. There's no moisture for that little quick system to work with, so it's going to spin through rather quickly, and simply put, it's a total swing and a miss, right? We really don't have to worry about that one whatsoever, okay? So that's going to be on Thursday. And then as we go forward in time, take a look at this. The pattern continues to evolve. You can see that big trough off to the northeast, off to the northwest rather, up in the Pacific Northwest developing. But notice that little hot red area coming up near the California Baja and into parts of Old Mexico. That's a little tropical system. And that's going to get caught up there in the subtropical jet. Look where it goes. It begins to lift up towards our area. We'll have a little fetch of moisture come up at the same time. Look at that big storm system pinwheeling through parts of the Great Plains, right? It's still well to our north, but you can almost see it wrapped up. You see the little calm effect, right? That's a big time storm system right there. So a little Pacific tropical moisture coming up, big storm system to the north. Okay, we begin to kind of scratch our chin a little bit. That's interesting, right? So we're watching that. And then you can also see one more pack storm system coming in as well. And that right there is going to be by Tuesday evening. And you can see the tilt on it. That's going to be a negative tilt system. Negative tilt systems can be a little more conducive for active weather. So we're just getting the overall setup. Now we're going to have to drill down on all of that. Oh, by the way, in about 10 days, here comes a much stronger storm system. That is a negative tilt system as well. And if we wanted to take something to Vegas, that would be the following Thursday. Could we maybe have some active weather, maybe even some severe weather with that? Well, just looking at this chart, I would maybe begin to take that to Vegas, but we'll dive into that a little bit more coming up. So from there, let's look just above the surface. Now we're looking for air mass change here, right? We're just looking to see where's the cold air, where's the warmer air, what's happening here. So you can see the big storm trough pulling off. Most of the chilly air with that pulls away. Again, we're kind of back into a ridging pattern, so to speak, here in the southern plains. You can see temperatures moderating. And then here comes our next system. It's a Pacific cold front coming in. You can see that cutting through the Great Plains. So here it comes. It's got some chillier air with it, though. But not colder air. It's got just some Pacific chillier air. That comes through. We moderate the temperatures again, and then you can see towards the end, here comes that final pack system coming in, and that'll be the much stronger system, right? Okay, so now we kind of, and we'll put numbers with this, okay? So we're not just analyzing it quite like that, but this gives you a visual of what's going on. We'll put the real numbers with that coming up momentarily, right? The true highs and lows. So bear with me 1 second here. Now let's go and take a look at rainfall potential, okay? Same thing. Now keep in mind, this is not a future radar, right? So when we're on air, a lot of times we'll show you the high-res future radar type product. This is a snapshot of every 6 hours where the computer model is giving us a signal of where there could be some precipitation. If it's right over a certain county, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to rain there. You just kind of look for the signals and the suggestions that it's giving you, right? So as you look out in time, especially the further out you go, it's kind of a blend, right? You don't get too detailed. It's all kind of blurry, but you begin to kind of take what the model's giving you and begin to kind of put that together, right? So as we go forward in time, we know we're quiet at least here in the near term, right? Nothing going on through the first part of the weekend. But let's go and check that first system, right? So here we go. There's Sunday night. Could be some storms up in Oklahoma. That would be that next front. Doesn't look like we have much moisture to work with here in North Texas. Looks like storms may initiate in East Texas, down into parts of Central Texas, and that's now kind of giving us a swing and a miss. That would be for Monday, and that's that first system, right? Even with the Pacific tropical moisture, not too bullish with it, right? So there's Tuesday, and there's our next opportunity of some showers, and this may be our more likely opportunity of some rain in the area, right? And that's truly as that Pacific tropical moisture does begin to move up into the area, right? And so with my afternoon update, I've only got a 30% probability for Tuesday of rain. Again, we started to really kind of see this morning, so I didn't want to get too carried away, but this will be a couple model runs now that we're beginning to see that Tuesday. So I think it's more than likely that we'll bump that up to 40 to most likely even a 50% probability now of rain for Tuesday. And this appears to be mainly rain. Now we'll take a look at that coming up momentarily. We'll go forward in time. And let's get to this final, and there's day 10, and that's when that final, much stronger system comes through, and there would be another opportunity of precipitation. So that's essentially what the forecast is right now, minus the fact that we're probably going to need to bump that Tuesday up. What I want to do, I want to look at instability, and bear with me here. It's the screen that I'm seeing this on is extremely small, so I'm having to really look in here. So we'll just do it this way. And so what we're going to do, we're going to look at instability, right? And so this is potential atmospheric energy. And we're just going to go forward in time. And so let's get us to Tuesday, right? Because we know we have that opportunity of rain on Tuesday. It could be a little thunder to our south. This mainly looks like a rain deal for us, right? Could be a little bit of thunder. But really looks like a rain deal, right? And that's kind of what we were anticipating, so no real change with that. Now here's going to be the more interesting part, right? It really appears as though right now that late Thursday into Friday, again we're talking 9-10 days on down the road, you can see at least the opportunity of some instability building in, right? So when we're looking out that far, again this is all blurry still, right? We're just kind of taking these signals of what the computer data is showing us, right? When you're making a forecast 9 or 10 days down the road, you're always talking in generalities, right? None of this is locked in. None of this will be locked in until we get closer to the short range, because all of this can change, right? The computer model can flip this completely around in 12 hours from now when we get a new run in. So we're just looking at this right now, right? This is the way the forecast will look right now. But again, as always, it's subject to change in another 12 hours. We'll update it with the newest information coming in. But as we're looking at this, there's really no change from what we had earlier. There would be an opportunity, again, if all of this holds together 9 or 10 days on down the road, that we could have some storms. And in fact, we may even have a little bit of severe weather. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense, because again, we're just that far out. You're talking in generalities, right? So if you're making a forecast or you're ever giving a forecast, don't get caught up in that, right? Always talk in generalities. Really talk in generalities anything outside of 48 hours, because anything outside of 48 hours, almost always it's subject to change, right? This is the forecast, it's subject to change. And it does change typically, right? So here we go. So here's the actual model data. Let me switch back because I know you can't see that very well. Let me put it just back to the normal view. Okay, so this is, and in fact, let me do this really quick here. And I know we're running short on time. We've been doing this. We're trying to get these to right around 15 minutes. This is the Euro data. This is the raw data now that it's spitting out, right? So we looked at kind of the different maps, right? So now we're looking at the raw data that it's spitting out. So for tomorrow, Wednesday, 66 is what it's saying. Temperature-wise, we've got a warming trend into the weekend. In fact, by Sunday, very close to 90. Basically what we got, then as we get into early parts of next week, it's a little bit warmer, right? The Euro is a little bit warmer in the parts of next week. And again, you can see the one real opportunity of rain, it is going to be that Tuesday. And then again, you can see on the rain bars below it, precipitation bars there, another opportunity in about 10 days. So everything we just looked at there graphically, the raw data is basically agreeing and again telling us the same thing. This is the blended models. This is truly what I use in the forecast, right? I take the Euro data and kind of even blend it a little bit more with this if there's something I just really like with the Euro. But this is a product that the National Weather Service, NCEPS, produces. It takes all of the model data, not just the US models, but the Euro, Canadian, everything, throws it together, and it's weighted on how each model performs, right? And then it spits out this data, and in the near term, the first 48 hours, the high-res data rather is plugged into this as well. So 68 for tomorrow, that's essentially what I have. There are those mid-80s I was talking about heading into the weekend, same as what we have right now. And again, we're a little bit cooler next week. Again, we have that opportunity of rain on Tuesday. Behind that system, there will be a little frontal system that comes through. I think our temperatures trend down some, and then we'll begin to rebound the temperatures before that next front by that following Friday into that Saturday, and truly it's really going to be into that following Sunday that we begin to talk about that opportunity of active weather, right? So the next real opportunity outside of Tuesday of possibly some thunderstorm activity, and what we're going to track over the next 10 days, the opportunity maybe of severe weather that would actually fall in that following weekend. So not this weekend, but the following weekend, right? So we'll follow that trend and see if those weather pieces of the puzzle are able to hold together, and we maybe do have some active weather on down the road, right? So essentially what you're seeing right there, that would be your forecast there over the next 10 days. So that's where we are, folks. Again, hopefully you find these interesting, again, just pieces of what we're analyzing as we go through the day, at least the most we can fit into a 20-minute video. Again, watching, like I mentioned, give us a like, give us a comment below, let us know where you're watching from, and again, we'll do this all over again tomorrow. Of course, you can always watch our channel as well, Roku, Apple, Amazon, Fire TV. That's where we have our full forecast, and again, a made-for-TV forecast. And again, you can also watch it on YouTube, by the way, as well, and also on our free mobile app that is available in the Apple and Android store. So otherwise, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. We'll get off of here. Like I mentioned, I know this video has gone on a little bit longer than we anticipated. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your evening. Remember, it's going to get cold tonight. Some locations may see that light freeze, so do keep in mind your tender vegetation.